Hey, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in to Let There Be Talk. Oh, it's bitchin'. Bitchin' is here. It's kind of a part-time bitchin'. Spicer's over at the hut here today. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. I like part-time bitchin'. It feels, it's like laid back. It's hanging out. The place is fucking incredible.
Oh, yeah, you're at the new hut here.
I'm happy to be here, dude. It's great.
How do you like it?
It's incredible. Like, you don't think spots like this still exist. This is a unicorn in Los Angeles. You know what I mean?
It really is, right?
Like, I saw pictures of the 2-car garage, unicorn number 1.
Yep.
I saw pictures of the floor. I was like, okay, he's spending some money on the flooring. And then you come in and you're like, oh yeah, no, this is a trophy wife.
Fuck, it's great. It's funny because that old place of mine, it was so my life. It's funny to think about how I was in love with that place, because I had shitty places before.
Yeah.
So when you get a place that seems to fit, when my dream was to move to LA from San Fran, I was like, it must be Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
That's all I was focused on, my whole life. Hollywood Hills, it's quiet. There's the fucking Hollywood sign. I can open the back door, go hiking, all that. But after I've lived here now 2 months. Really, I've only been here a month because I was on the road.
Yeah. You've paid for 2, live for 1.
Yeah. You and I were talking about it. It's the beauty of walking, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy to open my back door and just go get a coffee. Where before, you said a great thing. You said, well, yeah, you got to drive a little further to the store, but other than that, you don't have to drive at all.
Yeah.
And you fucking nailed it. I open the door, I go out, I get coffee, I can get ramen, I can go to the 24-hour CVS, the Gelson's, the movie theater, the ArcLight. I walk to the ArcLight.
Yeah.
It's great. And it's like living in San Fran. I'm back to walking, which I haven't done in 15 years.
Yeah, you think, and I think there is something important about living close to comedy clubs, especially when you're getting into a scene, because it does force you to go out more. You lose excuses like, oh, I don't want to go traffic, and you get out there more. But once you've established yourself a little bit and your choices are like walk or close trip to the comedy club versus walk or close trips to everything else, at some point everything else wins, because comedy's still your life, but that's only 1 trip a day.
Yep.
You go, you're there, the clubs are all closed, you know what I mean? You're out for the night. Everything else is literally everything else.
Yeah. And we got to put in perspective, actually, I was telling someone, sometimes my house took longer to get there because of the Hollywood Bowl. Oh. It just fucked up my whole side of town for 8 months a year. Yeah. So, of course, I'm on the motorcycle. It's great. But in a car, you're just stuck there for a half hour.
Yeah.
Light to light to light to get to the Comedy Store. So this is actually faster. I boogie over Laurel Canyon. I don't even see the Hollywood Bowl, and I'm there, or Beverly Glen.
Yeah.
So in reality, it's actually closer most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about... Maybe I said this before, but like everything you've heard about LA is true. And all the awful stuff is true. The traffic, like you can't imagine it. All the beautiful stuff is true too. Like all the stuff you see in movies that romanticize Hollywood, 100% true. But all that other shit, like I had friends in Houston, Interstate 10 is bad there too. Go figure. 10 is bad everywhere.
Yeah.
But they're like text pictures like, oh, I feel like I'm living in LA. And I'm like, no, motherfucker, it's 5:45 p.m. That's called a rush hour.
Yeah.
Text me that picture when it's 2 a.m. on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And you're in traffic worse than that. Like, then that's LA.
Yeah. I remember I was riding somewhere with someone just recently, and they said, it's just traffic all the time now in LA.
Yeah.
It used to be like these ghost pockets. Like if you wanted to get to Irvine Improv, you would leave around noon or 1 and you were clean. But now there's no clean.
Yeah.
The 5 is always a fucking parking lot.
Yeah.
And that's just it. But I don't complain about that shit anymore at all. I don't really care. It's like I live in LA and I love it.
Yeah, you know what it is. I was in San Antonio doing a weekend of shows, and then I extended my trip a day, and there's this awesome show in Austin called Sure Thing. It's at Austin Java. It's incredible. Sure Thing. It's Saturday in Austin. If you're in Austin, go see that show. And I extended my stay, and I was going to go do that show, and people in San Antonio were like, you're flying out of San Antonio. You're going to just drive from San Antonio to Austin to do this show? And I'm like, one, the show's incredible. Two, it's only an hour and 20-minute drive.
Yeah.
That's me going to Santa Monica for an audition.
Yeah, that's also San Diego all the time for you. Every fucking Thursday or whatever that show was you did for years. So this is like a cakewalk.
Yeah, this is like open road in Texas Prairie. Sign me the fuck up.
Some podcast.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So yeah, man, it's I'm starting to get used to living here, and I'm starting to know the people at the spots I go to, getting thrown a couple bonus free coffees.
Nice.
Not wait in line for a couple things, that kind of shit. See Gene Simmons at Crave.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. You're like, oh, this is the Valley stars over here.
Well, there's more of them than you think. Like people,
there's so many over here because they get money and they boogie the fuck out of Hollywood.
Right, because Hollywood is beautiful and nice and it's cool and it's fun and whatever, but like there are a lot. It's easy to shit on the Valley, but when you shit on the Valley, you're not shitting on like there's good parts. Like there is shit. Don't get me wrong.
Oh
there's
God,
like,
yeah.
Van Nuys. I mean, there's like some, but there's some beautiful stuff over here and a lot of money.
Yeah, and also don't get me wrong. I would live in Hollywood in a second again, but I have like when you're 50, you have like things you need. I need a garage.
Yeah.
That was the number one thing I needed, and it was so fucking hard to find a garage. And I'm not talking that shit down. You go under the subterranean parking where everyone, is door digging your rides, and they know your motorcycles are in there. My buddies have had mini bikes stolen from, not mini bikes.
Yeah, 50 cc.
Yeah. Not a mini bike, but a lot of bikes stolen because when you're in a big unit, there's people looking at your bikes all day, and there's different people. They're like, come on by. It looks like there's some Harleys downstairs, and the guy's never here.
Yeah, just people coming and going, too. Like, if that gate's always up.
Always up.
People are going to walk in. I don't know. I think that most apartments, most places, flats, whatever, in Hollywood have a garage. The garage is just street parking, and there's street cleaning 2 days a week. You can only be parked for an hour. I don't know what the problem is with that, Dean. You don't want to circle your block for a street spot?
Yeah. I mean, I lived in San Francisco. You know what I mean? It's funny because you were kind of around during my search, and there was at one point one that I almost grabbed, which was in your part of town,
out east.
South Pass.
Yep.
And there was something about that pad was really cool. And the area was really cool. The garage was kind of shitty. It was small.
Yeah.
But there was something about that area out there that felt kind of lonely to me.
Sure. I think to some extent, though, that was its appeal. Like this won out, but that was more like your cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
Like you go out, you're close to it all, but you can kind of hunker down, write, podcast, get shit done. And then you like emerge from your cocoon to re-enter civilization. This, you're very much... up in it all the time still. And where I am, it's like you slow it down.
Yep.
You hit pause.
Well, it's good for you because you have kids and stuff.
That's where I need to be.
But for me, I felt like, I remember I told Marin, I said, I just kind of felt like if I had like a heart attack or something out there, I would just die. Like, who would help me? And he looked at me. It was one of the great Marin moments. He goes, the ambulance, it's modern day 911 and you're out of there. And I was like, yeah, I know. But I mean, you know what I mean? It felt like this. I fucking feel alive. I just walk out on that street, man, right there. And I'm just in it, man.
Yeah. And no one would help you if you had a heart attack. All that would happen is people would bitch online about the podcast being late.
Yeah.
What the fuck? It's been 2 days.
Man, what's up with that guy and his heart attack, right? It's insane. But yeah, here I am. I'm here. This is the third podcast I've done. Dalia was here yesterday. It was hilarious. He sneezed and he's like, oh, sorry, I'm allergic to shitty apartments. That fucking bastard. But this is here's the great thing, rent control right here. So, I'm like, hey, this is probably where I'll end up dying unless I got rich or something. I just die in the hills again. But you know what I mean? You look at it like, I can live here for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to outgrow this. It's 2 bedrooms. I got the fucking guest bedroom for any super donators to Patreon. Hey, you donate a big amount to Patreon, you get to stay a weekend here. Oh, God, that would be crazy, right?
Come watch Dean sleep. Hit up patreon.com.
That's what I love. Josh Freeze, he had the Patreon, and he did the thing. He's a drummer, and he's making a record. And whoever donated like $2,500 got to go to Disneyland with him.
Dope.
That's cool.
That's great.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then another people got drum lessons and shit. This one, you get to come to the Valley. I show you stay here, and then you might get to you meet Brody.
Yeah.
Brody Stevens. We go by the Starbucks he's always at.
Yeah.
And then we eat at a few of my restaurants. We go to the barbershop. I found a new barbershop up the street.
Okay.
Archie's.
Okay.
Looks dope.
Nice.
Where you get your haircut?
A little place near me. It's just a guy. He does most of his stuff. He works. He teaches school.
Yeah.
Cutting school, barber school, and then he has a shop. It's open like 6 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Whoa.
Or something. It's like really weird hours.
6 a.m. to 10 a.m.?
It's like bizarre.
like old people barbershop?
I set an alarm to get up to go get my haircut.
Wow. How much?
38, I think, something like that.
That's a lot of money, dude.
It's a lot of money, but it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like I feel like this cut right now is actually a San Antonio road cut, which is fine. But this dude was real. He's good. I have a lot of hair and it's thick.
Yeah.
And I need help.
Yeah.
And I don't mind paying for someone that knows what they're doing. And this
you
dude
got to come over here.
Okay, I'll try it out.
Yeah, $22.
Yeah, but 18 in gas, same difference.
No, not in the Prius. Dude, we went to fucking Arizona in your Prius, and it was $32.
Living the dream, buddy.
Yeah. Which, by the way, we were just talking. I might sell my car. I know. It's a rough thing, but man, this thing's a gas guzzler. And I mean, the overhead has gotten ridiculous on this thing, and then I don't drive it because I'm walking all over. But that car is, I think I'm losing a couple nights of sleep over it.
I want you to start a podcast called Buyer's Remorse with Dean Del Rey.
Yeah, I never had buyer's remorse, actually. This has been a long time since I've had it. More like knee-jerk reaction to the motorcycle crash.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course.
You know?
And that knee jerk was your knee hitting the pavement.
Yeah, knee, shoulder, and ribs. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But if you do comedy out there, I'm going to tell you the death of an early comedian is overhead.
Yeah.
And that's going to... it's going to ruin you if you have crazy overhead. I know a lot of people that they just max out their credit cards. They got card payments, and then they've got insurance, they've got rent and credit card, you know. And I get it, that's life. But the key way I made it pretty quick, I didn't make it, but kept going for 6 years, was low overhead.
I think that's the death of everyone.
It really is. It's death of America. Burr and I were just talking about that.
Yeah.
Because I told him I might sell the car because I wanted to tell him, because I like to tell people before they go like, "Where's your car?" "Oh, loser," or whatever. Right. But I ran it by him, and I told him my theory was, low overhead is how I've been able to have the best life I've had. Yeah. And I've had some mad credit card debt, and without that Ice Cube film, I would still have it. I paid it off, cut the cards up. And man, the freedom I felt of that. No cards.
Yeah, well, I think because you live in a debt-stressed world or whatever, like, and I fall into this too, and buy stuff I maybe shouldn't buy from time to time. We all have our weaknesses, but like you live in this world where you think your things will impress people, and even in comedy, like you have this idea of like, oh shit, I'm gonna roll up to the club in my '67 Camaro, all tricked out. It's gonna be fucking badass.
Yeah.
And then they'll ask me to headline because it's like that's you could roll up on the shittiest thing ever. And who fucking cares? And if you walk on stage and kill, like that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And whatever your thing is, be it investment banking or whatever, like unless you are driving clients around in your car that need to have some level of comfort or prestige, like if you're a limo driver.
Yeah.
But otherwise it's like, look presentable, but not everybody needs to be wearing an Armani suit to work or whatever.
That old fake it till you make it always cracks me up because I don't really think it works in comedy because, you can fake your clothing and your car and your look and everything, and then step on stage and just eat dicks.
Yeah, I wonder what that's interesting. Like, because I feel like that saying must have some merit to it because it's been around for so long. But I think people have taken it the wrong way. I think people take it to mean buy shit, look good. And I wonder, and I'm just, thinking of this now, I wonder if what it really means, like the genesis of it is more put yourself in a situation to make it. Like, don't pass up opportunities and get in over your head from time to time and let yourself flounder and take risks and take opportunities. But yeah, don't go buy a fucking Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Like that's called definitely not making it.
Well, I here's the thing. I love to be in I'm the type of guy, and this has always been, I've always loved to be in a little bit of a dangerous mode of like, oh fuck, I've got this car payment now. That really does drive me to work harder.
Sure.
But also that could be detrimental too, in a way of like, I could be working way harder and still not making the money. And then you start to sink, and I learned something early on. And I think I learned this from my mom, which is credit score is God in America. It's all fake and bullshit. It really is bullshit. It's all geared around charging you money on loans, points on loans. So if you've got a low credit score, they go, well, we'll sell you that car, but you got to have, it's 18%. That's all it's geared around. It doesn't mean anything except for bankruptcies and stuff. My point is, I've always wanted to keep this kick-ass credit score, and it's gotten even worse now. Like when I was looking for apartments, the first thing they wanted to know was the credit score.
Yeah.
Thank God I got a great fucking credit score. Even now with cell phones, when you go to get one, you got to leave a deposit if you got a bad credit score. And when I was signing up for gas and all that, I even shit on SoCal Gas. I got a 731 credit score, and they asked me for a deposit. I tweeted, "What is the score?"
Yeah.
Because I'm tier B. What is the score for no fucking credit on gas?
Yeah.
I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah. What are you going to do? Like, leave? It's a place.
They just turn the gas off and you're fucking cold.
Yeah.
Fucking bastards. Anyway, so, yeah, it's just life. We'll see what happens with the car. But in the meantime, I love this place, and I'm pretty fucking happy.
Yeah, it's great, dude. And whatever you end up doing, you've got a two-car garage, so you got room to be happy.
Well, that could be loaded back up with two-wheel machines.
Yeah, of course, man. Put a lift in. You get a bike lift.
Well, that's my dream, to put the lift in so it goes up, and I can clean the bikes at eye level. Yeah. And there I am in the summer, and some cool those like lawn chairs like they have on what's that one where he sells the propane. That show?
Oh, yeah. King of the Hill.
King of the Hill.
Yeah.
Couple dudes sitting around.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you missed that spot on the back rim, you know, and just chilling in that alley right there.
Yeah, that's, I'll be there.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So what have you been doing, man? We didn't do bitching for like 3 weeks now or something, maybe 4, because you had a couple things to do. Then I was on the road, and then I had to do that phoner with Ingve.
Oh, that's a rough life.
Yeah, but I had to have it. I didn't know it was going to be a phoner, and then all of a sudden it was a phoner,
Yeah, no, things have been good, dude. Writing, a lot of shows. I started another podcast because why not? The one I was telling you about. The parenting show. It's called Department of Parenting.
Yeah.
The first real episode went out Tuesday. Every Tuesday, Thursday.
Now, what's that about?
It's me and another comedian, this girl, Chris Quintos, and we take like a topic, a news article about parenting, kind of talk about it in a humorous but serious way, really examine what the article's talking about, but riff and be funny, and then answer a listener question. In the community, we're small. We just started, but I tweeted out like, hey, starting this parenting podcast, Department of Parenting. If you have any parenting questions, hit me up. And we got tons of questions before we even started. So on episode 0 or whatever, we were running with listener questions. It's not for everybody. It's about, Chris and I are both parents, but it's a clean show. So if you're in the car with kids or whatever, and we just felt like it was a niche that isn't really served. There are a few others that are out there, but like a fun comedic take on.
You got call-ins?
The shit we do. No, it's all email or Twitter.
Oh, got you.
We haven't gone to the live show yet, but it's been good, dude. And then just show. I've been on the road a decent amount, like San Antonio, somewhere else. Brenton Biddlecombe and I just did a college show in San Luis Obispo. It's weird. Like, you just turned 50, which one, that your party and show was incredible.
Oh, thanks, man.
I'll circle back to that too. It's weird when you hit this point when you're like doing a college show and you're like scanning the room and you're like, I'm twice your age. What the fuck? And it's not that the jokes don't work, but it's like this weird, surreal moment where you're like, oh yeah, I'm your professor.
Yeah, I did UCLA like 6 months ago, and man, it was like, God, this ain't for me. You know what I mean? I had fun and they laughed, but man, they were just, it's weird. College kids, I can't gauge how old people are anymore. Right. I'm looking at these guys and they look 14. You know what I mean? They really looked like 14, 15 years old. Yeah. Maybe 17, 18, but not college, man. Yeah. And I'm up there doing fucking some pretty radical stuff, Yeah. And they knew what I did. They hired me because they saw me at the store. Right. But it was still kind of a weird night, big ass fucking theater, like thing. Yeah. Full on huge, full of students, you know. It was fun, but it's, colleges are weird. It is. It's getting to the point. It is weird. But your birthday show, I love comedy, and I will never not do comedy. But you probably talked about it already, but if you hadn't. Your birthday show was one of the most amazing comedy shows ever assembled, right? Just fucking murderer's row of comedians, and then also you. But what I'm saying is, it was a really thanks. I was like, wait a minute, what? Hey, bitch, I had a great set that night.
It was a great fucking show, and I mean that sincerely. A great show. Yeah. But then as soon as the comedy show ended, you and some of the most amazing musicians ever assembled formed a cover band. You were just an AC/DC cover band. Yep. And no offense to you or any of the best comedians in the world on this comedy show, but as soon as the music started, it was like, oh, fuck comedy. This is awesome. Yeah. Like, that's insane that, like, a cover band is instantly better than the best comics in the world. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, man.
Like, nothing is the same as fucking rock and roll.
Well, because it's loud and it's fucking radical. Yeah. But you know what was really interesting? Last night, I had a night off. It was rare. So somebody sent me over. There's a video up on YouTube. It's 15 minutes of the whole night of the music. Yeah. And he edited it all together. Really cool. Fletch did it. And so last night, it'd been a few weeks, and I finally was like, I'm going to look at this as like outside the box now. And I was looking at it, and then I texted each guy that played, and I said, what a fucking magic night. Nothing went wrong. Yeah. The comics were seamless. Then the quick intermission was seamless. And then every band, no broken strings, no out of tune, no fucking broken drum pieces, no, nothing. Yeah. And I was like, man, that thing was, you got your money's worth. For $25, you got to see Burr, Rogan, D'Elia, me, and Red Band and Joe Bartnick. And then you got to see those musicians, man. What a fucking night. Yeah. They just asked me to do it again. No music. I'm going to do another night there in May. Delray at the El Rey. I'm going to have you on it.
I would love to, dude.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to do one Tuesday a month there.
Shit.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful space.
Yeah, it's a beautiful space, and it really worked for comedy. Yeah. And we're going to try to build something in there and make something cool to where you can go see comedy in this beautiful theater. Yeah. And we're going to try to have a low ticket, like a $15 ticket or something. Yeah. And really rock it. So the first one's going to be in May. I'm kind of fired up for it.
Awesome. I loved watching you because, one, not only were you double performing, but you were also like organizing and show running. And you had help. And I'm not trying to discredit any of the help that was there. But it was so killer to see you like before the show, like talking and like, yeah, whatever. And then like, I've seen your set, I've seen you perform a million times. We know each other's comedy. And then like you do your set, but I had never seen you really sing before. Yeah. Like, of course, like dicking around, like on a road trip or whatever, but like really singing. And what struck me is like comedian Dean has totally different posture than rock star Dean. Like, not that you slouch when you're a comic, but like comedian Dean, you look at normal dude, and then like rock star Dean, I'm like, I want to fuck this guy. Like, why do I want to?
It was so weird. I was backstage and I did the set, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, all right, cool. And then I realized something. Oh fuck, I got to go out there in a half hour and sing for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I hadn't done that in 11 years, sing for an hour and a half. And in the fucking stage was boiling hot.
Yeah, the jacket came off.
The jacket came off, man. And I had a fucking ski cap on. I cooked myself, man. It was so hot. And man, when I was done with that, I was toast. I was toast for about a week.
No, totally.
It was like, whoa, man. I was kind of fighting this sickness for a month, this bronchial infection I'd gotten. I'd moved, you know, and oh, man, I was on the road. It was fucking brutal. So it turned out epic.
It was awesome. And I had never seen Bill really play the drums before.
Oh, he rocked it, huh?
He's incredible. And I'd never seen Tracy really play the guitar in person before. And I think he only did like 1 or 2 songs.
Yeah.
And it was like just enough to let you know that you're seeing the best in the world.
That
like
guy's
he leaned
killing,
in for
right?
a solo, and I was just like, oh, fuck, this is it. Like, I think he's going on a rock cruise soon.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like guitar, go to that. Anyone that can go on that, go on. Just seeing him for one song, just like lean into 1/10 of his talent was just mind blowing.
But that guy's been playing professional music since he was 18 years old.
Incredible.
From Fairfax High School right into full-blown fucking rock stardom, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he and Axl Rose, they started that fucking thing, you know, and then they break off. It's LA Guns and Guns N' Roses. I mean, that shit is fucking... That's history right there. And then you got Rudy Sarzo up there, who played with Ozzy and Randy Rhoads. Then he played in Quiet Riot, who sold more records than anyone in the 80s. And then he played in Whitesnake.
I've been listening to so much Whitesnake now.
Yeah. Oh, still in the night.
So good. So good. It's so good. I texted you this after that because Whitesnake is what got me in. But if you were to go back in time and tell 1986 that in 2016 Guns N' Roses would be back together and killing it, and Whitney Houston would be years dead of a drug overdose, you would never believe that. Like,
I know, right?
Like the guy that
who died on drugs?
Yeah.
You mean Whitney Houston? Not fucking
not
Slash?
Mr. Brownstone.
Yeah, right. Man, that shit is crazy, man. It was an epic night, so I'll never forget it. And it was, wow, man. Wow, that's all I can say. Wow.
You got to make it to 100.
God, I was having some panic attacks. I haven't had them in years, and I was having them recently because I turned 50, and I feel fantastic, and I don't give a fuck about... I love getting old. I love it. It's cool because I go, man, I'm fucking 50. I've been all over the place. What I don't like about getting old is cancer and dying and shit like that. So I was having these mild panic attacks the last couple of weeks of like, oh man, because I'm working so hard to be a great comedian and doing this podcast. I'm working and I love everything, but it's like, what if in 2 years, 52, man,
But I feel like, while that, of course, age is just a number, but it is also a number that represents a greater likelihood of you dying.
I know.
But you hit a certain age and it's like, you've been playing that game since you were 30.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or 28. Like you get to a point where it's just like any fucking day, anything can happen, and some of it is because your body hates itself and mutates and you get cancer or whatever else, but like this is from a guy who wakes up in the middle of the night with panic attacks about his own mortality.
Yeah. Do you get them too?
Oh yeah, all the time. Like since I was a little
about
kid.
dying?
About death being inevitable.
Well, it's weird because I am not afraid of death. I ride motorcycles. I did drugs, booze. I skydived. That kind of death does not scare me. It's the shitty death of cancer or heart attack. Those are the deaths that I'm scared of. The other ones, so my point is Burr was like, you're going to go back and you're going to be riding all the time, huh? And I go, well, I would hate to not ride and 5 years from now get cancer and go, well, I just skipped 5 years of riding because I wanted to live longer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So fuck it, I ride.
Well, because I feel like that kind of death, though, like riding, skydiving, or whatever, is active. You are in control. And I think the scary thing about life and mortality is that you're not.
That's it.
For so much of it, you're not. In the blink of an eye, fucking Eazy-E, HIV, and by the time he found out about it and to when he died of it was really quick. And his life slowed down a little bit, like he was sick, but I think he thought he had pneumonia or something. It was just like, I think that's kind of what did him in. But you can go from a diagnosis to death. I had a friend not too long ago who found out they had cancer, and from the time they went into the doctor thinking, I don't feel good, to end of days, I think was 3 months.
It's crazy.
And it's just scary because it's out of your control. But if you're out there being a badass, living life how you want to live, and something happens as a result of that,
that's
you reap
different.
what you sow.
Yeah. And also you're like, well, I was living my life.
Right.
Nothing worse than not living life and then getting something.
Yeah.
So that's my point. And it's funny because now I'm full blown. Like there's a juice joint behind me, and I got burr going on. We're fucking. It's like
there's your overhead, Dean. You gotta get a juice.
These juice cost crazy money, but if you do it yourself, it's more money.
Is it okay?
Oh yeah, because you're putting all this shit in there, and then it goes.
Save the car, cut the juice.
Oh man, I tell you what though, the juice is like I've been. Powering down these juices and these these protein bowls and shit. I feel fucking great.
Yeah.
Wow, man. I feel like really good. Like I hate vegetables. So every day I drink this super green one. They make me. It's got like all the grossest shit, but it tastes great. Shit I don't like to eat. Kale, broccoli, fucking, all that junk. And I drink it. I go, this is great.
Yeah.
And I feel fucking good. And it's so funny because I shit good now. No wonder I was always a piece of shit at shitting, But yeah, man. Good to have you over. Yesterday I had a great phone in, so we didn't get to do bitching yet. Actually, yesterday I was supposed to go to a physical.
Yeah.
My 50-year physical, and my doctor said, I got to go into surgery. I got to reschedule. So then I ended up doing this phoner with an incredible guy, Chris Warren. He is the head of sales at WESCO Boots, which is it's not one of mine. It is my favorite boot company on the planet. I was showing you some pictures. These guys are in Portland. They've been there 98 years.
Oh.
Started with a guy who was basically walking around Portland asking loggers if they need boots.
Yeah.
And then he'd go into his basement and make these boots and then bring them back out to the trees and they would wear them. And his word spread and more boots. He was doing like 8 pairs a day.
Holy.
Yeah. 8 pairs a day. Old school cobbler shit, man.
Yeah.
Cobblers are cool.
It's crazy.
If you go to the WESCO, it's WESCO Boots, WESCO Boots, plural, .com. There's a video there, and you can watch these guys, how they make these fucking boots, man. And I think about like, a lot of people just go buy boots at a store. They're made in China. They fall apart, and they get another pair. But these guys make a boot, and you wear it for real the rest of your life.
Yeah.
When
you watch that video, one, they're not that expensive. I'm not saying mortgage your house expensive boots, but like after you watch that video, you're like, you know what? I feel like I'm paying too little for the. Well, and I mean that sincerely. Like you see the work that goes into something, and that's true of anything that's well made, and you're like, oh yeah, no, this is definitely worth that money. And then you see the pictures before and afters of like people send them in to have them like refurbished or whatever that's called in the boot world, new soles or polished or whatever, and you're like, oh yeah, it looks like a brand new boot, but formed to your foot even better now.
Even better now.
Yeah.
Like, because my thing I was saying is I love Doc Martens. I wore them for years, but they fall apart and I just throw them away because there's no one like redoing them, I'm sure there is people that do, but it's just not the same. Like
right.
You get these Wesco and they're just part of your foot for life, And it's funny because I'll hear a lot of people, they'll go like, God, you spent $600 on boots, or like say $3,000 on a mattress or something. You go, dude, you're standing in those, right? You know what I mean? You like, how many pairs of Chinese boots do you want to buy? You buy 10 pairs of Chinese boots, let's say, in your life. They all fall apart. You throw them away, you get another pair. You buy 1 pair of Wescos and just send them in every 5 years to get refurbished. You've got 1 pair of boots,
right?
And they're just, and it's crazy. $600. They're made by hand by a guy and guys in Oregon that have been there for 98 years.
Yeah,
they deserve your. I'm the opposite guy. I'm always like, fuck, only 600?
Right.
Oh my God. Like these should be $2,000.
Yeah.
You know, and just like when I had Jason Schott on from Schott, you can get custom made stuff there. You know, the sky's the limit there. Like you should go on and make yourself a boot. Just for fun at night, you run down that rabbit hole. It's on the website, you just custom boot. And you pick the style, the height, what color you want the eyelets, brass, steel, black, the soles, the colors of the leather. You could see, I showed you there was like cream and black. There's anything. You can make a fucking circus boot if you want it. Like all kinds of colors, you know?
Yeah.
Now you're a boot guy and you're also a sneaker guy and I'm a sneaker guy. But I realized something moving here. I'm kind of over sneakers.
I'm a retired sneaker guy. I don't know if we talked about it. I think maybe when I was on just, regular episode a long time ago. And I think you're seeing more and more of it now, but like menswear, just like have your basics. So I still have all my Jordans and I still like them and I look at my pumps and stuff. But for, I don't know, it's probably been 2 years now, at least a year, I have a pair of boots and a pair of gray Vans slip-ons.
Yeah.
And then athletic shoes, like workout shoes. But otherwise, it's like these go with everything. They looked good in 1908 when they were made for the boots, and the Vans looked good since 1968 when they were made. And it's like, you never look at a picture of James Dean and think, oh, that guy looks like a piece of shit. He always looks great.
Yeah, you never go like, look at those dumb boots they were back then. You're more like, look at those boots. Those are dope, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm gonna whittle it down to like 2 pairs of Vans. I'm thinking about just putting all the Vans on eBay as a one block.
I'm so glad we're not the same size. After I say that shit, I would buy them.
I know. So I'm thinking about doing that. That way, that closet over there is full of sneakers, and I don't even care about them. And Ian Edwards said an amazing thing. Ian's in the middle of moving, and he goes, "Yeah, I was living in one place." And then I'm moving to another place. So he had a lot of shit in storage. And he goes, and I was living on limited footwear. He goes, I was living on limited footwear, player. You know?
Yeah.
And he goes, and no one noticed, and I didn't notice.
Yeah.
You know, you get in that game of like, got to get a new sneaker today. And I don't give a fuck about sneakers. I love boots. So I was thinking if I get, I'm about to get a new pair of WESCOs. And by the way, this show is not a fucking ad. You know what I mean? Like, I want people to know this show is all about, and I was telling Chris, I want to kind of have like you and I talking about some shows to pitch, but a handmade series on here on Bitchin', where somebody makes shit by hand.
Yeah.
Motorcycles, leather jackets, denim. That guy Roy in Oakland, he just fucking makes denim in a warehouse himself.
Yeah.
You know, those kind of guys are awesome because it's so, that's not around anymore.
Yeah, and when it is, it sells out super quick. My older brother, like I have an American Giant hoodie, and like when they came out and people found out how awesome they were, it sold out. Everyone's like, this is like this is a quality thing that like,
I read that they sold out of the hoodie.
Yeah. And like I was lucky and got mine in the first batch, and you wear it every day. I'm wearing a cardigan today. But again, I don't want to sit here and like, if you're super into the sneaker culture, like
I'm not knocking it.
Yeah, like Hassan,
at all.
Guys that are like friends of mine that are super deep into, that's awesome. Like I buy too many video games and Star Wars toys. Like we all have our shit.
Yeah.
And sneakers look dope. Like I read an article the other day ranking every Jordan. And
wow.
One, how could you do that? Two,
that's cool.
of course it's Jordan 1s because they started it all.
The red and black one.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
But like I get it, and I'm not saying just because I'm choosing to take that away from my life, or you're saying you're paring down. But I do think if you can, whatever you can in your life, it's refreshing to get up and just go like, oh yeah, it's cold and wet today, boots. Oh, it's warm, Vans.
Yep. Yeah. The pair of Vans I'm going to keep are Leica boots. They're those DMAs I got they're from France.
Yeah.
And they're like Horween leather from Chicago. And they're made for, they're supposed to be like a boot. And they're the classic Van, skate high. So that would be my sneaker. And I can actually resole that. They made it to
That's
where you
awesome.
can have it resoled. It's a cap sole on there.
Yeah.
So I go, well, this would be cool as fuck to wear this one too. You know, so my WESCO and then this Van, you know. But all the other ones, somebody said something amazing about sneakers. They said, sneakers, you constantly buy new ones because they only look good new.
Yeah.
Where boots look great old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like an old fucking boot looks fantastic. An old sneaker doesn't look good to me. Like an old Chuck Taylor, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, some can age well. I think the sneakers that look good old are like game worn, but then it's not the old sneaker that looks good. It's you knowing that, oh shit, Kobe wore these when he won his 4th ring.
Right, but I mean, when you see old beat up sneakers, you just think, oh yeah, you're a poor person.
Right. Well, the pride of old sneakers is keeping them mint.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. So it's like, oh, those are dope, and you're like, yeah, these are Jordan 10s from 2010, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
shit. It's like you kept those nice, but yeah, these boots, it's like, I need to get them polished again. But yeah, you get them worn in, you can see life in them. It's like it's like a fucking tree. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, there's that.
Chris was telling me you don't want to polish the WESCO boots.
Okay.
He talks all about it. You put this bees oil on it, and don't polish them, and that's how they get that cool old patina look.
Yeah.
Where you see a guy's boots and you go, how old are those? But they're still fucking perfect because the leather didn't crack through. So bees oil, he talks about how to care the boots on here. And I just fucking loved having him on. And what I liked about him is he doesn't own the place. Roberta owns it. Her family started it back in the day. But he absolutely loves working there. And I think that's very important too. To love somewhere that you fucking work in life. And I've said that over and over. You and I love doing comedy. Do something you love, and he loves this. He moved up there from Mendocino County, and he loves living up in Portland. You know, he lives a mile from the factory, and he loves doing what he's doing. You know, which is insane.
Yeah.
So that's fucking great, and this is a great episode. I want you guys to check out their boots, even if you can't afford them or whatever. Tell somebody about them, or just spread the word, because they're 98 years, and I want them to be there for 200 years. You know, and some of their boots from 50 years ago and 60 years ago are still around.
That's awesome.
People are still fucking wearing them, man.
Yeah.
Like his dad was wearing them. I've only been wearing them about 15 years. I discovered them when I was at Sturgis or before that, but then I got a custom pair made at Sturgis. And you can go, if you're in Oregon, you can go to the factory, take a tour. They'll trace your foot. They'll make a fucking boot perfect to your foot. He was telling me some people
Be right back.
Yeah. Some people got a fully different one size foot to the other, man.
Oh, sure.
Insane. Like not like a half size, 2-3 sizes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, right? You know, that old small foot. Hey, here comes old small left foot. What do you got anything coming up before we get into the episode here?
I'm in San Diego the 27th with Triple E. Then I'm back down there April 1st and 2nd if you're in San Diego. And then I'm going to be in Salt Lake City, or is it March or May? It's like the 19th through 21st.
We're
in Salt
good
Lake
guys?
City. I don't know. This literally just came together. Either March or May. I'm in Salt Lake City.
Oh, yeah, that's hilarious.
I think it's May. Let me check. I'm going to pull up.
Who are you doing it with?
Just me right now. I don't know. May. It's not till May. So I think it's all coming together. But May 19th, 20th, 21st, I will be in Salt Lake City. I don't know where. I'm on Twitter at Spicer.
Word. What
about you?
I'm going to be in Columbus, Ohio this weekend and Pittsburgh headlining. Please come out. All the ticket info, brownpapertickets.com. Just put in Dean Del Rey. Come out. Here's your chance. Everybody's always saying, when you coming to here or there or here, I'm coming this weekend. And then San Jose Improv, March 10, 11, 12 with Joey Diaz. Also, hit that Patreon page if you want to donate to the podcast. It's patreon.com/Dean Del Rey. And then we'll be back bitching next week. We'll be taking calls on Tuesday at 2:30 Pacific time. in Los Angeles. Spicer and I will be. You're there next week?
I don't think I'm there next week.
Oh, you're not there? Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll be there taking calls. I'll be back taking calls because I've been doing phoner interviews in there the last 2 weeks. So whoever I get, maybe it's Tracy Guns or whatever. I'll have a guest host.
Cut me deep. Whoever I get, someone way better than you.
No,
That's the only reason I like not being there is I like listening to the episodes when I'm not there.
But we've been getting a lot of tweets. People want bitching back, which is great. And we didn't go away. It's just we're fucking swamped, man, which is good and bad.
Yeah.
So thanks for tuning in, guys. All right, so there we go. It's great to have Spicer stop by and do a little bit of bitching and talk about what we've been up to the last couple weeks. And now let's get into this interview with Mr. Chris Warren from WESCO Boots. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you. Candles lit. Right on, man. Introduce yourself. Let's talk a little bit about where you work and everything. Chris Warren, right?
Yep, for sure. So yeah, I've worked at WESCO Shoe Company. We are about 25 minutes out of Portland, Oregon, up the river going towards the coast. And in a pretty small town, Scappoose, Oregon, about 6,000 people. Factories located here. I was turned on to the company I began working there close to 15 years ago, working out in the factory making our footwear. So,
wow.
Yeah. My father had worn our boots for a number of years, living in Northern California, the timber industry, the sawmills and so on. My father was a millwright, and I moved up here and was dating someone, and I saw on the paper they were hiring while I was going to college, and came into this little factory. I'm not sure, have you ever been to our location up here? Or
I haven't. I saw some pictures, and is that what year is the company start?
So we were founded in 1918.
Is that the original factory?
No. Actually, our founder, he had a few locations downtown Portland.
Wow.
Yeah, one of our, a lot of people had been calling in looking for a pair of, we have pull-on and we have lace-up boots. And we have the engineer model, which is called the Boss.
Right.
Yeah, super popular.
Super popular. That's the first pair I bought.
Killer. Yeah, they're pretty simple boot.
Was that the first boot? Was that the first boot they made back in 1918?
No. So John Shoemaker, the founder, he came out from Michigan, and he was kind of doing the delivering papers and stuff out there, and he's kind of peddling newspapers, and was coming out here to kind of find a new opportunity for his family. He actually came without him. He came out here and worked for a shoe company here, and worked for them for a handful of years. And I don't know, I'd say about 10 years after that, he founded WESCO Shoe in Portland. So really heavy in the timber industry. That's the main boot that we had made. That's what we were founded on.
So
the spiked logging boot.
The spiked logging boot. Now, prior to this, does he have any? Does he get all his knowledge from working at the other shoe place, or because he moves from Michigan and he's not a cobbler or anything, right?
Well, that was like the logging industry back then. That was the main spot where he had moved from. So he actually came out here, and if you look, on our website, you can actually see he had a letter of recommendation and had some experience with working on shoes, and he just kind of, worked here and learned this and that, and he basically looked to make the best handmade boot that he could. That's kind of what we have instilled in our factory today. What are the best components that we can use? And that's kind of around here where he made that timber boot initially. It kind of progressed. So every every boot in our line, and if you come into our fitting room, you'll see this huge poster. And it briefly discusses the evolution of WESCO Shoe Company, but it shows each model. And that's pretty cool, you know, like say in the 30s and 40s and 50s and so on, as the demand for a different style came up, he basically created something.
Wow.
So, you know, like our Highliner boot, for example, is a utility lineman or an arborist. People that work in those fields, they had come in, some linemen came in, asked him about, can you create this boot? So he, you know, he did what he knew how to do. He created a boot with extra arch support. It's got this little side flap on the side. You may have seen
I saw
those
that, yeah.
models.
I always call that that later was good for motorcycle riding because you're shifting and it would, you know, the shifter would be kind of like right there.
For sure. And actually, you're not the only one, you know. I mean, we do make an engineer-style boot, a pull-on that has a gear shift patch.
Yeah, I have a pair of those.
Okay.
I love that because it doesn't wear through.
Yeah, it takes the abuse, just like climbing a pole or climbing up a tree. You know, the side of the boot is pretty abrasive. It just beats the hell out of the side of the boots, and by putting that patch on there, you know, it definitely gives you some longevity with that model.
So he starts downtown Portland. How many people did he have working with him? Do you know?
You know, I don't recall exactly. The crazy part about it is we have these murals through our factory that are just, I mean, they're amazing. There's no other way to describe it. And it's our founder, you know, when he first moved out here, then he's in a shop, and then he's actually in the basement of a home that he built, which is, I mean, still right up behind our factory, where they were making boots. They'd go out to the logging sites and they'd you know, take the order and hand make them and deliver the boots. And it's kind of, you know, it's an awesome story. It's something that's evolved into a brand that really catered to the working person out here.
Yeah, the blue collar, the logger, man. I mean,
right.
You know, where are you going to get logging boots back in the day? You probably wore like whatever you got at like Sears or something, right? And they probably just fell apart.
Pretty much. And that's, you know, where he came in and just, you know, to be blunt, just kicked ass at it. I mean, it's a solid boot that, you know, even me now, you know, like I said, I've been there about 14 or 15 years. I used to work out on the floor, stitching and hand nailing.
How did you learn that stuff? Just by, you answer an ad in the paper, right?
What's that?
You answer an ad in the paper. You have no knowledge on how to do this, right?
Right.
You just go like, I can make boots.
Well, I had worked in restaurants and done a handful of things, and
I've waited some tables. I can fucking make a boot.
I could, yeah. Why not? I got cobbler, and you know, I saw the name in the paper, and I thought, you know, instantly I thought, there is no way this is a company that makes my dad's boots.
Right.
And I give him a call. I'm like, hey man, you know that WESCO's up in Oregon? Because, I mean, down in Northern California where we're from, I mean, we're all small towns there up on the Redwood Coast. And you know, my dad, yeah, I knew they were up there. I'm like, you know, no big deal. Okay, all right. Well, they're hired in the paper. I was just kind of wondering about, well, I'm going to college, taking night classes, working at the factory. And, you know, you pull into our parking lot, and it's crazy. I mean, it went from back in, you know, the 30s, it went from about a 2,400 square foot facility. Now it's like 19,000 square feet or something.
Wow.
Like that. I mean, they've had it on. Yeah, we're at our max. So
you're like Winchester Mystery House, right?
It's you know, you can look in our owner Roberta actually walking out there. She can tell you, like, you know, you walk through the factory and look at the ceilings and everything in the walls, and it's like, well, it used to end here, but now then it would end here, and then it ends there, and
Oh.
You know, it's a trip. I mean, you pull in, and I mean, I guess it's pretty cool that we're a quiet facility because we're right in a residential area.
Wow.
Yeah, you just drive through town, you take the last left, and you go up on this hill where you see a bunch of homes, and then you hook a left and go down this driveway, and there's where the magic happens.
Wow,
so,
that's incredible.
It's and you know, when I started there, you were asking how did I learn that? I mean, it was one nail at a time, one stitch at a time. It was something that's a craftsmanship that's, it's hard to find. There's a small handful that actually can do that at a quality like ours, and I went in there and it was the typical interview, and I was, no, I've never done it. Nope, never done it. Nope, never done that. Just up front and well, do you know how to run a hammer? I'm like, yeah, I could do that. So next thing you know, I'm out there nailing my thumb and everything else. And
wow.
And it's kind of a trip. If you watch the video, just seeing, there's well over 155 steps of from when the leather comes in to regrading the leather to make sure it's up to our standard, and going through the cutting phase, and then the skiving and the stitching, and I mean it's unreal. It's not something that I ever would have thought. Where we end up, it's like, okay, well, all right, I can learn that. So
yeah,
now
what?
Them and stitched them. And,
how long does it take? How long does it take to make a pair of boots? Let's say a pair of the Boss, the motorcycle boots.
Sure. So one thing with our boot, our process, I mean, we could actually make a boot in a day and then have it sit for 3 days. We could have one done within a week.
Really?
But with that being said, and I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression or idea, we generally have a few thousand orders that are ahead of said pair. So, it's kind of a process that our plant manager, which he's done a heck of a job adapting, not to stray too far from it, but it's, we did a lot of the occupational based boots. Even when I started there 15 years ago, we were still doing quite a bit of work boots, but we're so custom. That's what you see.
Right.
If you walk through the factory, it's like, whoa. I mean, you're kind of like, your mind's kind of blown because you see all these things that just, 20, 30 years ago, we weren't doing.
Right.
We still stick to our roots, and we still have the same construction, and we don't. That's one thing our owner does a great job of is, with me, I'm looking at all the stuff. I'm like, oh, we could probably make this or that or this or that. I'm all fired up about it. But, to continue doing the process that's been done for almost 100 years, we're going into our 98th year this year.
Wow.
And
98 years.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, before you go any further there.
Yeah.
The original guy owns it, and then now the owner is Roberta.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Was she related to the original owners, or did she buy the company? What happens here?
No. It's always been in the family.
Wow.
So that's actually Roberta's grandfather.
Wow, because I had Jason Schott on, and his family invented the motorcycle jacket, and that's why I really, really wanted to have you on, because I think it's absolutely incredible to think about people that are making handmade stuff in America still, because and not only handmade stuff, but phenomenal stuff. I mean, these boots are next level. I don't just have some boot guy on, you know what I mean? I only have people on that I'm blown away by the stuff. I've been wearing these boots for a good, I don't know, I guess 15 years now, and they're just insane. And then the whole process of being able to send them back and have them refurbished. So, when people say, "Oh, you buy that boot, it's going to last you a lifetime," I've burned through probably 100 pairs of Doc Martens in my life, and I love them, but there's no place to just send them and get them completely refurbished, Where when I send these WESCOs in, which, by the way, if you're listening, I recommend you get 2 pairs. because, or 2 or 3, or 4 if
Hey,
you like me. Whatever you need. But my point is, I wore these things all the way down to the fucking bone and sent them in. They came back, and they were brand new. It was insane. I mean, all broken in with the patina and everything, but these new soles and the insides were great. It was wild, man. So it's so cool to have people in America still making stuff, you know?
Yeah. It's, and to find, to touch on, like you had said, the quality, it's kind of untouched. I mean, we do quite a few trade shows and travel around, and I mean, for me, I kind of nerd out on boots,
Me too. I'm
just
crazy.
do. I'm sitting there on my phone going through Google Image, like checking out all these different boots and stuff. And
I'm the same way. I late night rabbit hole it. I type in WESCO Boots Job Master, then I hit images, and I go through about 90 pages of like, oh man, and what people don't understand is you can pick just your standard boot, your black boot, but the sky is the limit on customizing these things as far as soles, colors, stitching, patchwork, inside pockets. You can even get a credit card pocket inside your boss boot on these things. I mean, and all these different sole heights and different leathers, everything.
Yeah, it's truly one of a kind when you'll kind of see nowadays a handful of brands that are kind of straying away from doing these one-offs. It's like they'll pick a handful of styles and they'll make those styles, but we hold true, and we're always going to continue to offer the custom boot. I mean, why not? If we can and we can make it, then by all means, that's what should be available. And the thing is, we had a professor, and it was one of the math. I can't remember what math course it was, but we had this professor write in, and it was an actual quote in our last catalog. And they calculated how many different combinations you could make. And I mean, it was an absurd number. I don't even remember off the top of my head, but it was like you had just said, say you want a 6-inch boot or an 8-inch boot or a 10-inch boot, and then you want to change out your hardware, like your eyelets and your hooks, or you want different colors. And
yeah,
you want
brass,
a different toe profile.
black, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I was just I'm sitting there looking at it, I'm like, no way. And then I start writing down, okay, well, we've got this many heights for this style and that many thread colors and that, and it's like, holy shit, we can actually do that,
Well, also what people don't understand is I've got like a flat fucking Fred Flintstone foot. When you go into a store and just buy a boot, people don't understand that most shoes come in a D width. And not everybody's foot is the same. I got a flat foot, so when I get boots with arches and D width, there's companies I won't mention, but I can't wear them because they just only make one size, and everybody's foot's different. And that's an amazing thing that that you guys do. You send out an actual tracing thing where people can get their exact foot done.
Yeah, that's another aspect that we love to offer, because there's a lot of people that we've actually helped, by doing that. And I mean, like you stated, I'm a pretty big fella, so when I go into a store, I can't wear that either. I've got some of my boots are double, triple E.
Wow! You got the tuna boat.
Well, hey man,
I do too.
Kicking balls.
I remember when I was young, I'd be at the pool, the public pool, and I'd get out and I would walk, and everybody had that classic kind of hang 10 footprint. And mine was just this flat Bigfoot thing. And I never understood why as a kid. I was like, how do you guys do that? I thought they were walking weird and shit,
Yeah, that's, and for me, I mean, before working there, I mean, I just, my dad must have always been lucky, just went in and got a 10.5D out of the shoe store and in the little town where we were from, and had just been lucky and worn those forever. And for me, like, I got a custom fit pair. I'm just like, oh, no way. And I mean, luckily I benefit by being the sales manager, because, well, if I don't wear it, I don't know how to sell it. So I've got quite the run of boots. But yeah, that's definitely something that if you ever make it up to our factory, which we'd love to have you.
Oh, I'm gonna come up there for sure.
Okay, cool, man. Yeah, come take a tour, and you can kind of see downstairs. We've got the shoe last that we form and shape everything around, which we've got. I couldn't even tell you how many thousands. I mean, it's tens of thousands of measures on file of tracings, for our customers. And
you just keep them on file. Do you put them digital yet, like in computers yet?
Man, we're old school. Yeah, we do copy. I will say we have started taking copies of them, but you can go in there. For example, right now, I think the other day I pulled one that was like number 60,000 whatever.
Wow. I'm in there for sure.
Yeah, and that I mean the crazy thing, I was talking with the plant manager about it, because I always wondered, well, how did you think about doing custom fit? I mean, it makes sense to me, and working for a footwear company, but how did it come about? And I guess he had said that his grandpa, because his great grandfather was the one that founded the company. His grandfather ran the company for quite some time. Just a great guy. And he was up there kind of tinkering around during off hours. I mean, they weren't open, and this customer had come in and was talking to him, and from what Chris, our manager, said, he basically had a real high instep, and he had hammer toes where they kind of curl up.
Right.
And so Bob, our president at the time, he said, let me see what I can do for you. And he actually built up a shoe last. And it's we call it a build-up. So when we're compensating for, we look at someone's measurements, they send it in, we put a shoe last over the top of the paper, and then we take a tape and we mimic those measurements. So, wherever we need to add to it to imitate, say you measured behind the ball of your foot and it's 10 1/4. Well, we need to build that shoe last up to match 10 1/4 inches.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's some people think that, you send it in and it's just made, oh, well, you 10 1/2 on the left and about a 10 1/2 on the right. One's a little narrower. We'll make the same size. They'll fit both feet. We're actually taking each foot, each ankle, each leg, and we're making it specifically for that foot, that leg, and that's what we keep on file. And it's better to do a custom fit if you're going to order multiple pair, because like you had said with options, if you're looking on there and you want a round toe or a square toe or the motorcycle patrol toe or a western toe, I mean, there's so many options that way you can pick and choose anything that we make.
Well, I saw a boot that blew my mind, and I want to bring this up because I didn't even know you could do this. Somebody combined two boots. They had a Packer top with a Jobmaster toe. And basically that's a hybrid boot, and I was in love with that boot. I was like, look at that fucking thing. That's the boot,
Yeah.
So you can combo out boots like that, huh?
Yeah, that's, it's, and that's kind of what I'll do with the pictures at the factory. So we have, say, a first-time customer come in, and they get a little overwhelmed. I mean, you've got a handful of different customers that come into our fitting room, and some of them will come in, and I mean, just talking back and forth, like they've researched it enough to where they know it seems like as much as I do,
Right.
They've got these different toes, and everything's highlighted, and there's little sticky notes all over the papers, and it's great. I mean, I love that, but also someone might come in and they're just blown away by, well, I can do this and this and that, and like you said, you can take like a harness toe and a boss upper and a western heel and pretty much make whatever you want. within reason. But
that's amazing,
yeah,
man.
so,
That's amazing. And we're not even talking about like thousands of dollars, you know, like, I mean, we're talking about a boot that you technically could buy when you were like 21 and die in this thing when you're like 80, you know? So for like a price of about $500, $600, $700, a full custom fit boot, man, that'd be your boot for life, you know?
yeah, it's once, trying to do this, and I've worked as a sales manager for about going on 6 or 7 years. But, one thing is you look at across the kind of the market of footwear, or however you want to call it. You've got your ranges where you've got someone like us, and then something a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less. But one thing that we've started to realize is people are actually paying attention. Customers are actually paying attention to, okay, this is made in the U.S.
Yep.
It's ridiculous quality.
Yep.
Not only is it made in the U.S., amazing quality, but I can also customize it not only to fit my feet, but to look exactly how I want. And that's, right there.
That's over the top.
I mean,
that's over the top, you know? I mean, well, I remember my first custom pair, I met you at Sturgis. Because you guys go to Sturgis motorcycle rally every year, and you set up, and at this particular time of the year, you can get a discount and get fully fitted and everything right there at Sturgis. So I rolled in, and I got a Boss with the shifter patch, and then I got orange stitching, Harley colors, orange and black. I got them a little lower. I never liked how high they were because I wear kind of tighter pants. I got them lower, and then a different sole, and I had them lined in orange, so they're like Harley boots, orange and black, and it was mind-boggling,
Yeah, that's especially at Sturgis. A lot of people walking by and they see our display. It's like, whoa, because generally what I try to do is, and I completely understand where customers are coming from. It's hard to visualize the exact boot. It's easy for us. What I've tried to do is, say you like the Boss boot, I'll make 8 or 9 different colors and styles that are on display there. And Sturgis, we've done really well at that show. We've been there for, I'd say, the last 14 years or so.
Right.
Ton of clientele that come through and come back, and probably one of the funnier times there was this guy walked in. I mean, he knew exactly what he wanted. He walked in, he had the cash, he knew the boot. He looks at me, he goes, "You got those in a 13?" I said, "Sure do." Pulled it out, handed it to him. By the time, he had those on, he filled out the form, gave us the cash. We gave him a receipt. He walked over to the garbage can, threw his old, whatever brand they were, in the garbage can and rolled out. I mean, it was like a 5-minute transaction, probably the best sales transaction.
Wow.
But,
well, yeah, it's one of my, I look forward to it. It's a lot like I was just at Inspirations this week, which is an amazing clothing show in LA. And you and I talked about it. And it's the same thing with Inspirations. Every year I save up some money. I know I'm going to buy a leather jacket from the real McCoys. I email them 2 months out. They bring the jacket. Boom. I walk right in. I give them the money, and bam, I've got an amazing jacket. It was the same thing with WESCO. I ride 1,300 miles, and I know one of my first stops is going to be at the WESCO booth. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get another pair. Like I need another pair, like a hole in my head. But, it's the boots are just so fucking cool. And I think that now they're even getting cooler because people have amazing ideas. And if you go online and Google image, you'll see these different combos. Like my favorite, hands down, is the black and cream Job Master, with the white sole,
Awesome boot, not too extreme, just smooth looking. I've got a pair Actually, now I'm talking about it in my closet, which I've, I've got quite a few, but, I've got one that I did kind of a pattern on it with the burlap and the black. That's just rocking, man. I mean, it's like, it's perfect, you know, and you just throw it on with jeans and go. And that's, it's a lot of people ask me, they say, well, you've been there so long and there's all these styles. What's your favorite boot? Well, it kind of changes. I mean,
it does.
Like at first,
because I don't even wear the Boss anymore, you know, and that was my favorite when it started. But now I see that Packer with the Jobmaster toe, and I'm like, well, that thing looks like a cool 40s boot, man, you know?
For sure. Yeah, they do, because a lot of those, our company started out the same. You're looking at the way the leather was wrapped under and hand tacked and nailed all around it, and the uppers had the lightweight stitching, and we were one of those companies that wanted something a little stronger, a little tougher, something that wasn't already out there, and we were making those like on our Jobmaster. You see all that heavy stitching.
I love it, double stitch and all that.
Yeah, and it's that's kind of some other things we've been messing around with and playing around. We've done some boots where, say, we don't put as much stitching. There's a model that I had worked with my friends at Ironheart and made this boot that was just super simple, but I put on a pair of them. They're called the Foot Patrol.
Right.
You probably see it. Yeah. And I put a pair of those on, and I was kind of worried because we took out the counter that goes around the back of your heel.
Yeah.
And we leather lined them, and traditionally for me, I don't get real short boots lined, but I put a pair of those on, and I mean it was golden from the first minute that I put that design on.
Wow.
Just super light, super flexible, really comfortable, but built just as strong as our standard boot, as our work boot. It just had a little bit of little different design to it.
Yeah. How long did you work in the shop before you become the sales manager? And how do you become the sales manager?
Well, I worked out there. As I said, I started, I was hand nailing and running this, what's called a Rapid E. It's a big industrial, it's a stitcher. And I don't know if you've seen the videos of it, but it's got this big steel spike, which we call an awl, that puts a hole through the sole, pulls it over, and then this big needle comes down, and that's lock stitch, which is what we have, the stitch down construction. Every stitch has a knot that holds it together inside of those soles.
Yeah, because people don't understand. A lot of these boots that you just buy at like a boot store, the sole is glued on, right?
Yeah, and they put kind of like a
fake stitch.
Right. Yeah. And that's why you can wear our soles. You'll look at the bottom of them, especially if you're riding your bike or something. You look at the bottom and you're like, oh crap. You look down and you see where part of the stitching is gone.
Yep.
But it's still together. So inside of there, we do dissect some of our boots to show examples of how we construct, as opposed to others. But there's actually a knot in each one that holds it together, so it's no big deal. It's still internally held, intact. So, but so I started doing that. I kind of tooled around through the factory doing multiple jobs, and I went to Portland State up here in Portland. Got done, and I actually went to school to teach, and I was looking at my student loans, which were just through the roof.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Welcome to America.
I was looking at that and I'm going, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have got a house. I should have done the 4-person college roommate thing a little longer. But I graduated. I had my degree, and our plant manager really wanted me to stay, and I sat down with Roberta, and we didn't have a sales manager at the time, and she just kind of. I was offered a position. She said, "This is what I'd like to see," and And I said, well, I don't have sales experience. I mean, I was very upfront, and Roberta knew it, but Roberta also knew that by making the boots for, the previous 8 years, that I understood, when I'm seeing those boots come in and we're taking them apart, and it's, every boot that comes in, it, not to sound cheesy, but it does tell a story, because it's, whether it was a guy writing a story to us, writing a letter about how, he laid his bike down and his foot got trapped. I remember this one. This guy had these big, tall engineer boots, and he wrote this letter to us just thanking us. He had kind of got his foot pinned, and where it slid down, you could actually see the crease down the side of the boot.
Wow.
And it's like every boot that had come through, although I hadn't done sales, as I told Roberta, I don't have to feel guilty. I'm not trying to sell or peddle some shitty product. I'm selling something that I know that I've worn for years and years and years. I wear them on my motorcycle. I wear them out in the back when I'm digging with a shovel, or if I'm downtown Portland at a show or something. We make boots that you can wear anywhere. Whether you want a dress boot or a wingtip shoe or an Oxford or whatever it might be.
Yeah, you got pride, man. You know what I mean? Like, you can walk around, especially like at Sturgis, and walk around and you see your boot and you go, yeah, man, that's us, And also what I like about you too is you're genuinely excited about the brand, because I think some people, I get completely excited about great stuff, and I'll be talking to the person that works at the place, and they don't give a fuck anymore. I'll be like, oh man, God, I love these things, man. And they're like, yeah, right on. And and it's time to go when that happens. I worked for Harley. I sold Harleys, and I saw guys that didn't have the passion, that couldn't sell bikes because they just didn't love it anymore, But you love it, and I love that,
Yeah, that for me. I'm that guy that I'll pop out of my desk, and I help with our Instagram and stuff and Facebook, and I'll pop out and I'll just be walking in, say to the break room to grab some water or something or whatever, and I'll just look across the way and see some just totally kick-ass makeup, and I'm like, oh, how did they think of that? And I'm like, so I'm over there taking pictures of these boots, and I just, for me, I'm fascinated with it. Just the fact that we make it by hand, and then, some of these ideas that us personally at the factory, maybe we would never think of it. But
that's
done a combination that's just unreal.
That's exactly what I think. Like when I'm late night Google image them, I'm like, look at this incredible. I mean, some of these people, they definitely have an Art Deco mind when they're thinking about building a boot, because you're looking at the colors and the style and stuff. I'm like, wow, this guy went like green and burgundy with brass eyelets. This looks insane,
Yeah, and then they age.
When they age,
thing is seeing them when they've been worn and they come back in. I mean, and I'm probably the most guilty. A lot of customers ask, they're like, well, how do you maintain your boots and what do you do? Well, I mean, of course I know the process of, what I recommend to clean our boots off and how to put the oil back in and so on. But you look through my boot collection, and I've got a pair of Navy Packers that are just, they're beat up, but I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's
how I like it.
That's the look, the patina, man. Like, I tell you, I didn't even really like the black and cream when I saw them brand new. Then I saw a pair of old ones, and I was like, fuck, look at that, man. Yeah,
that burlap goes crazy. Because it's, a lot of people say, well, it gets dirty quick.
I love that.
It takes character quick is kind of what I respond
I love that. Let me ask you something on boots. What do you now? Of course, I want my WESCOs to always. I don't want them to crack or anything, but I don't like to shine and polish them and stuff because I don't like to get the look away from them. What do you recommend that people put on the boot? What, like a Lexol or a grease, or what are we talking about here that makes the boot? I don't like to shine them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which actually a lot of people don't realize. We're going with strictly what our tannery advises. I mean, they're doing the leather for us. They're processing it. If anybody knows how to treat it, they're going to know.
Right.
So, really what we see happen is our oil tan leathers, they're not actually recommended to be polished.
Right.
If you want to run some warm water with some baking soda, take the insert out of them, kind of swirl it around.
Inside the boot?
Let them yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Actually get them wet inside?
Yeah, it's just leather. Some people kind of freak out about it, but it's at the end of the day, it's just leather. You've got your steel shank in there. Your arch support's not going to fail. You just kind of swish it around and empty it out and let them dry out. One of the old methods is to stuff them with newspaper and let that absorb the water in there. As far as the outside, generally we recommend just a mild soap or some warm water, and you just kind of scrub everything off of them and put some natural oil into them.
What kind of oil? We talking like a
like a bee oil that we sell?
Oh yeah, like the bee oil, like that stuff that's just straight up beeswax, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's it basically what you're just trying to do is replenish the natural oils that were in that hide,
right.
The ones that were put into it when we got it. You're just trying to condition it, to prolong the life. It's definitely true. Somebody will bring in a boot that feels like concrete.
It's just that hard. It got that hard.
Yeah, over time, and that's.
And they were wearing it.
Man, I don't know how, but they bring this boot in, and we had for example, we had this gentleman that was a lineman for PGE out in Portland.
Yeah, there's an old word, PG&E.
Yeah, so PGE is Portland General Electric, and then down in California we had PG&E.
Remember the PG&E? Remember the little comic book you'd get? It was a lightning bolt guy in school.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, because I lived down there. Yeah, I lived down there for about 21 years before I came up to Oregon.
Yeah.
So, definitely familiar. And the gentleman, he came in the shop, and it's like I said, there's sometimes I hear stuff that, I don't ever pretend to know everything. I'm always hearing if I can learn something cool. This guy brought these Highliner boots in, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, man, that leather's just gnarly. I mean, it's just the toughest of the tough.
Yeah.
And I'm playing around with it, and I turn the boot over, and the guy hasn't even really said anything yet. And there's this sole on there, and it's called the O'Sullivan, and it's green. And I've seen people private message our WESCO Facebook page, and they've asked about this sole, but it's like, it's like the unicorn. I've never seen it.
Right.
It's just something that everyone's talked about. And I turn it over and I'm looking at it. If you look at our climbing boots, we've got these metal side plates.
Right.
For the thinner soles that are nailed on the side, so those kind of take more of the abuse from climbing, so the boot doesn't. So I'm looking at it. These soles are so tough. This guy's had them 40 years.
Wow.
He just retired from PGE.
Whoa.
Never had them resold.
Really? And
he burnt. Yeah, he burnt halfway through that metal plate. It still had 2 of the 3 nails in it. And I've never been able to find those exact soles, but they're just, oh man.
Did you ask Roberta about it?
And make a boot. Yeah, because we were trying to figure out where the heck were those from, and and I mean Roberta, she's someone great to talk to as well. She's worked at the factory. I'm pretty sure. Well, it's over 40 years.
Wow.
So she's got a wealth of knowledge, and it's and her father ran it for a long time, and there's just, I mean, to sit down with them to hear some of the stories, it's like, wow, like earlier when we were talking about custom fit, the actual buildup that we put on our shoe last, I never knew why, but it's called Paul Alley, and that was actually the first custom fit customer of WESCO that got a pair of custom boots. He's the one that came in while Bob was in the factory, and
oh wow, so it's named after him.
Yeah, so he drew it out and traced it out, and and made a custom fit pair, because they used to go to the logging sites and they would trace feet, but they'd just come back and figure out what shoe last would work.
Wow.
And then they'd make, they were making about 8 pair a day. And then they'd go deliver them, and then they'd find the next batch, and
8
so
pairs
on.
a day, man. They're busting ass, huh?
Right?
How many?
You got to figure, out of the basement of a house.
Yeah. That's a lot.
That was busting ass,
Were they using the same kind of machinery back then, like the big sewing machines and all that in the basement?
They did a lot more of fully hand tacking the sole. One thing you'll see that we do now is where we stitch the outsoles. We actually roll that vamp leather out and stitch it down. That was part of the newer construction. They used to actually do the old school where you pull all the leather underneath of it.
Yeah.
And we have some of those boots. It's kind of crazy. We have this old desk in our showroom that's got a handful of boots that have been donated throughout the years that are they're great. I mean, there's timber boots, there's climbing boots, there's we used to have these old waterproof boots that, it's things that our plant manager, I think he tries to keep some of it from me because I'm always so eager to make something that it's like, he's like, calm down. I know it looks rad, but just chill out for a minute.
Well, you guys are a lot like Langlitz, I mean, Langlitz is up in Portland, and you guys did a collab with him, right? It's you guys are like Langlitz in a way of like, you're this small company that when you go into Langlitz and also your place, the sky is the limit, man. I mean, it's like you go to Langlitz and I start looking at it like, oh my God, like there's so much you can do, so I could see your brain would turn there. Do you ever sit around the factory and just go, I'm going out there and making my own boot? Do you make your own boots still yourself?
That's, one thing I don't know if you've had a chance to play around with it, which it's not exactly photorealistic, but we have the new demo builder.
Oh, yeah.
Where it actually gives you an image as you fill in the forms, whether it's black or red or blue or brown, it actually fills in the sketch of the boot as you're creating it. And then you can toggle back and forth with the price, but, it's not exact to a photo, but it's enough to give you a great idea, of, okay, the red stitching on the blue leather with the brown lower with the aggressive tread. It actually fills all that in for you while you're building it. So,
what I recommend to people is Google image it and then email you the boot. Like, hey, this is the one, because I'm an absolute boot freak, but it starts to get confusing because there's so many options. You're like, oh man, I don't know, I just love looking at some and going, this is the one here. Let me ask you this: do you guys still offer horsehide boots?
It's something that I was told that was really popular years ago.
Right.
And then it switched to cowhide, and for us, yes, we do use you'll see people referring to the horse front or the horse butt or the cordovan versus the and that's something that we still do, but it's generally customer supplied. So
oh wow, I got you.
We've got a ton of different ones, and we've tried leathers all across the board where it's, some hides are amazing to work with, but then we've had some where, I had a gentleman overseas who had ordered, I don't know how many pair of boots from us, and he sent in this hide to see if we could make stuff out of it, and it literally looked like someone took a veg tan hide and super glued tinfoil to it. And we
was trying to make space boots.
Like I started pulling on it with pliers, and it just started flaking apart. I'm like, unfortunately, there are times where we can't make something out of it. But we definitely do stuff out of horsehide.
Yeah, because I got some
dirt
dirt masters. I told you, and I sold them like an idiot because I thought they were hurting my back, and it wasn't the boots at all. I just had a hurt back.
Man,
like a dumb.
Yeah, usually people get pretty excited when they get our boots. We have quite a few people that they feel it kind of helps them out with that heel and that arch support. But,
yeah, I mean the boots are just unbelievable. Now, how many people work at the place now?
From our owners down, we've probably got 30 some employees, mid-30s. I mean, that would include all of us, management, production, owners, customer service, warranty, everything.
How many boots are made a day?
Well, it varies. We're doing about 70, 80 pair.
Wow.
Depending. I mean, it depends. Some seasons we have to ramp up during the real busy times because, there's times where we're 8 to 9 weeks out on a custom-made boot, and then there's times where we're months out on custom-made boots.
Right.
So we try to maintain where it's, 8 to 9 is kind of ideal, where it's people are understanding, okay, it's handmade, custom-made, a couple months, no big deal. But once we start getting out to 20, 25 weeks, 30 weeks, that's kind of a big backlog. So,
yeah. That becomes a real quick lose interest, right? Because you're like, all right,
Yeah.
You almost have to order them and just forget about it because once you get them, you're so happy that you did it,
Yeah, it's crazy because I get to read a lot of the emails sent in and I don't even know if I'd call them testimonials because we don't put all of them out there, but just to read some of the stories is great. Something that. And I used to, like you had mentioned earlier, I really took pride in the fact that, people are busting their ass and working their ass off to fork out $400, $500, $600, $700.
Yep.
You want to make something that's kick ass that they get and they're just like, oh man, this is it. This is why,
Oh, totally.
And that's, for me, that's probably one of the coolest things is that you make something and say for the lead time, if someone lives in Portland or in the area and they come out, they're super stoked, they get measured, they pick out their boots, and then they come pick them up, and you open the box, and they're just like blown away.
Yeah, yeah.
With the craftsmanship as well, because where we're such a small company, we don't have 10,000 stores across the U.S. that are selling our product.
Nope.
So when we're at Sturgis and you can walk in and pick up a boot, it's, it just opens up a whole new world of, oh man, this is it. This is why it's this much money. And, it's that you get what you pay for most definitely with our boots.
Are there different, over the 98 years, there was different logos and different patches inside. And you know how people nerd out on that, like with Langlets, they're like, oh, it's a green label with the motorcycle guy and all that. Do you offer different logos, and were there different logos? Because the Dirt Master I had an earlier logo. So
yeah, it had one of the vintage logos. So the only time currently we don't offer anything out of our factory other than what our standard one is. Now there's a couple companies out there that had it grandfathered in where they can use an old logo.
Right.
But as far as us, they're not trademarked up to date, so we don't put a lot of our old stuff out there.
Oh, I gotcha.
And I'm pretty sure the one that we're using is one of our first it was one of our first embossings, our first logo.
Wow. How does the name come about? Is it because it's the West Coast?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, that's, and people will get it mixed up if I'm talking to them. They're like, well, no, I have West Coast shoes on. And I said, well, yeah, WESCO Boots is the same. It's the same company. It's just a shortened, you have a trade name and then your brand name. And it's, it made sense, when he was, and that's where our Western Boss boot, now you'll see it change, the name of it's Morrison, the Morrison boot. And that's kind of paying back to one of our first locations, which is actually on Morrison Street in Portland, Oregon.
Wow, that's real. I love stuff like that, you know?
Absolutely.
Now,
So,
what's
definitely cool.
What's the white soul called? Because you have the Waffle Soul, the Vibrant Waffle Soul, right?
Yeah, so all of our souls are actually Vibram.
Okay.
You know, I've seen some companies kind of going all across the board lately, grabbing souls here and there. We've always had a really good relationship with Vibram. Their souls are great. I mean, and we have multiple options, but like you said, unless you go to Google Image or you're looking around, a lot of people don't realize that there's more than, say, 3 souls that we sell.
Right. I didn't know either, you know?
Yeah, so the soul you're looking at, the 1010 Armor Shred, it's like a crepe soul that really is designed for, it's softer, it's a neoprene cushiony sole, and, you know, say if you're working in a warehouse or you're walking on hard concrete or something all day.
Or doing stand-up.
What that exactly.
Yeah, you're doing stand-up, you know. You need some cush.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so that's definitely a sole. You know, it wears out a little quicker than, say, one of the harder compound.
But it's more comfortable, right?
But it is, man. Especially, you know, when I'm walking around in a pair of those. I have a pair on our wingtips right now that I'm wearing today that has that sole on it, and it is a world of difference. It's, you know, it gets marked up instantly, and it starts to wear down a little, but when you're walking around about 270 pounds, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 50, body. You know, all of a sudden your knee joints hurt, you know, and your lower back because you're wearing a shoe that's all hard and you don't even realize it, you know?
Yep.
Then you get something nice and you're like, oh, I feel good today, you know? And and also, I think boots look the best beat up. It's crazy. Like that white sole looks way better beat up.
Yeah, it's almost, I mean, it's like mine is like light tanish brown, you know, on them now. And I've been wearing these probably, you know, a couple months, but I don't have, I mean, 0 of my boots are, you know, cleaned up and really taken care of. I mean, I don't go out and stand in concrete and then walk around and let it dry. But
yeah. How many pairs you got?
Oh man, I don't even. Well, I've got Job Masters, Boss, Packer, Wingtip, couple Foot Patrol. I have probably more than I should be allowed at home. I know that my wife and I go back and forth with me hogging the closet. So. But
that is hilarious.
It's hard not to, man. I mean, you work there, you see all this stuff. It's like, oh man, I need to wear that. I need that for, you know.
Yeah.
That'll be my Thursday boot. That'll be my Friday. I'll 2 pair on Saturday. It's, you know,
that's how I look at it. That's how I look at it. I'm a weirdo because in my mind I'm like, I'll just order the ultimate pair, and then I'll just wear those till I die. And it's like, no, it's not going to happen like that, because then you're like, you know what? Oh, look at this guy. All of a sudden, you know, I'm into the cap toe. Oh no, I love the Packer now. You know, it's just fucking crazy, you know? But I that's what I love about those boots. You know, it's like you could have a few different pairs and they're just, nobody else is going to have what you have when you're wearing it around, you know?
Exactly. And that's most customers, that's what happens. You know, they build a Job Master, and like you just said, you know, next thing you know, and we have a boot called the Robert William, which is the one I'm wearing right now. That's a wingtip.
Is that after the painter?
No, it's Bob Shoemaker. His name's actually Robert William Shoemaker. So it's Roberta's father. It was his father founded the company.
Wow.
And you know, I'll keep that part short. But what we did is we had come out with a couple boots. One is called the Voltfo and one's called the Ground Out. So they're electrical hazard rated boots. We'd come out with those and we didn't have names. So we thought, oh, well, let's do a customer, you know, let's let the customers pick. We'll get a bunch of names in and then we'll do a boot giveaway, which we did. Well, then we started going down. It's like every boot we come out with, it seems like it's simple to name a boot.
Yeah.
But it's like the more we did it, we're sitting there going, we're round table, and it's like, well, I don't like that. Well, I like it. Well, I don't like that. Well, and so that boot, what we were seeing at trade shows is a lot of people that say they worked out in the field, whether it's construction or line work or whatever, they had been promoted to supervisor jobs, and they wanted kind of an Oxford, but a little dressier.
Right.
So that's where we came up with that boot. And then I had asked Roberta, hey, is it cool if we just name it after Bob? And she was stoked totally for it. Like, oh yeah, of course. And so that's kind of cool that we can make something new, make a new style, because they'd see our John Henry, which is a cool little shoe to kick around in, super lightweight, super flexible, and they're like, well, what are our little wingtips? So, and that's what I've seen lately is now people are taking the wingtip in the JH Classic, and they're doing some of the Packer specs on the little dress shoe.
Wow.
So yeah, it's like I'm always amazed. I'm always seeing something. I bet I could walk into my factory every day and see something that I've never thought of.
That's rad. We got to get a Delray shoe going, man. Delray boot.
Yeah.
The Delray boot, the comedian.
Hey, I'm not opposed to it.
Now, you got some rock stars, movie stars wearing those. Do they order them themselves? You ever notice?
It's funny. Most of the time, I'll notice it down the road. Like I'm looking at something online and I'm going, wait a minute, is that guy's wearing he's wearing a Job Master? And then, it's like, or really where we find out a lot of it from is our customers, our customer base. They'll, hey, so-and-so had this boot on in this movie. Can you, send this in, or like, the movie The Aviator, we made a ton of boots, which were killer for it, but we had to like take them and distress them and do these kick-ass leather soles and stuff on them. And I couldn't tell you how many emails I've had, even now. I mean, that movie came out a handful of years ago. Yep. And even now, somebody will send in a picture, and there it is. You've got the picture in the movie, and they're like, can you remake that boot? And it's things like that.
You get a lot of movie work.
Sometimes when we fill our boots, I don't even know that they're going to a movie. I mean, I'm a sales manager, so I do take a lot of calls, but we've got customer service in our main office where they'll take some calls or whatever as well. We all kind of team up on it. Right. But somebody will call in and order a run of boots, and then later it's like the other day we had this guy send in a picture. It was this old picture, and I still don't know if it's true, but this guy is like, hey, I bought these boots off of eBay, and they were worn by Brad Pitt in this movie, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, I'll be damned. I don't know if they are, but it looks like the same, and you see all these pictures and like making the boots for the movie Terminator and things like that. Yeah, we do that. It's just we don't really broadcast it. You know?
Yeah,
like,
gotcha.
Hey, if you dig our boots, cool. We'd love to make you a pair and work with you. Absolutely. So, and you find a lot of celebrities that are huge fans that you're just like, no way, man. I didn't realize that you wore our boots and had 10 pair of them. And
I wear them all the time, and then people would be like, "Sweet West Coast." It's a totally a cult thing, man. People they get down on this boot brand, man. They just love it. They're like, "Oh yeah, man, I'm gonna get me some Job Masters next," and "Oh yeah, I like the pack." I mean, it's passion, man, which is thank God. I mean, 98 years. There's not. Many companies still around, in the world of like unions and high cost and health care and all that. It's hard to run a business.
And outsourcing. I mean, there's a lot where we, years ago, probably say 15 years ago, you could pull up a handful of tanneries to get leather from. Yeah. And it's, as they slowly close or companies are having some of their uppers made out of state or anything like out of country, it's harder for companies like ours because, I mean, our owner, first and foremost, she is always stuck with, if it isn't, if our boot's not made in America, it's not a WESCO.
That's right.
And that's her staple. And that's, I mean, it's awesome to be a part of that. We're a small company, 35 probably employees in a very small town making this kick-ass product.
80 pairs of boots a day. I mean, that is unbelievable.
Yeah, and and Roberta just stays with tradition. It's like her grandfather started this business with his dream of making these boots and making the best one out, and that's, it's what she's there to continue to do and protect. And we've had to evolve some with making a few different styles and so on, but we don't stray from what works for us. So,
well, hats off to you guys, man. And I can't thank you enough for doing the show. And Roberta, tell her thank you so much. And let's get a quick rundown of your social media. Of course, your website is, what is it? WestCoastShoeCompany.com? What is it?
No, so we've updated that. It's just www.wescoboots.com.
Good.
WESCO.
Yep.
And then boots is plural. And once you go to that page, you can actually go to there's links at the top, which I always recommend everyone click on the Instagram, even if you don't have an Instagram account. It's worth going to that because you can see so many different things. Like I said, I pop out there, I take pictures. It's put up every week. So,
yeah, I love it.
Yeah, cool. So that's kind of where you can see a lot of things, and then then our Facebook's on there and our Twitter and so on. So,
well, I love you, man, and I'm so glad you did the show, man. This type of show is, I should just call it the Handmade series because it's really for me. And then I hope everybody else loves it and learns something, even if you're not a boot wearer. It's all about hearing about people in America who still are around making stuff. If it's choppers, it's leather jackets, it's denim, or it's boots or whatever it is. It's a rare thing, and it's great to hear people are out there doing it. And look, you've got a job because of it, and it's fantastic.
Yes, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Well, thank you, man. And I'll give you a call later today. And I can't thank you enough, man. I'm glad you did this. It was just it was a pleasure to have you on, man.
Yep, much appreciated. And we owe you a huge thanks. And anytime you're up here, man, you're more than welcome to pop on in and do a tour. So
oh, I can't wait.
Keep that in mind.
I can't wait, because I saw some photos and it's almost too brutal to go to a place like that because you're like, oh, look at, I'm like you, like, I want this boot. I just start going crazy.
Walk in with a smile and out with an empty wallet. But
hey, really quick,
right.
I wanted to ask this one because I always feel like my left foot is size 9 and my right foot is an 8.5. You ever get somebody with a really fucking wacky, like a size 5 and a size 9?
We've had them. I've seen them as far apart as like a 9 on one and a 12 on the other. Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah, we've seen some crazy foot sizes, but it's even my feet. I mean, once I go true custom fit, I'm about a size off from my feet and width. I mean, so I'm about a size and a half. My right foot's way bigger. So,
wow. And most people are, right?
Pretty much. I mean, if we ever trace someone out, if we trace their feet and they have all numbers matching, we'll generally check it again. Like it doesn't make sense. I mean, that's so one in however many thousands of tracings. Right. If I'm at a show and I'm measuring a foot and I look, I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Both the ball and instep are right. And it's,
yeah,
like that's more, that right there is more interesting to me. I'm like, oh, no way. That doesn't make sense. That's 1 out of 50,000 or, however many. So.
Oh, I had one more question too.
Right,
steel toe, hard toe, and then there's a low profile toe?
Yeah, so if you go steel or composite, those are certified, so you can only go with specific builds.
Right.
Now, as far as the toe shapes, you can go round toe, harness toe, which is the big square.
Yeah.
You can go western toe, which is a little pointed.
Yep.
Or you can go motor patrol, which is a flatter toe.
Right. I like the Job Master toe. Is that just a standard round toe?
Standard round toe, and then the Boss boot has the bubble toe, is what it's called. It's got that kind of puffy looking, taller profile round toe.
Now you can get the Boss without that puffy toe, right?
Yep.
See.
You can pick it with any of the other ones.
Yeah. All right, man. That covers my craziness. I love you, dude. Thanks for coming down.
Again, man.
And I can't wait to get more boots and boots for the rest of my life from me.
You got it.
I'll see you later. Thanks for calling in, man.
Yep. Later, bro.
See ya.